You always knew flying over Alaska came with risks, but you never thought the worst-case scenario would happen to you. The morning had started like any other cold crisp, with the hum of the single-engine plane steady and comforting beneath you. You weren't even supposed to be on this flight. The survey team was short a technician, and your boss practically begged you to tag along. "Just a 2-hour flight," he said. "Take some readings, be back before dark." But now, none of that matters. Because the plane is falling. It happens so fast, your brain can't process it. 1 second you're sipping lukewarm coffee from a dented thermos, and the next the engine sputters like it's choking on air. The propeller shrieks. The pilot Mike, a guy with a flannel shirt and too many flight stories, curses and grabs the controls harder. But you see it in his face. You're going down. Trees blur past the windows. There's a horrible grinding of metal, and then silence, like the air itself is holding its breath. The impact throws you forward, smashing your shoulder against the side of the cockpit. Your head whips to the side. Something explodes in white light, and then blackness. When you wake, everything is still. It takes a moment before the pain registers. Your left arm is bent wrong. There's blood on your forehead. Snow is drifting through the shattered windshield. You call out instinctively for Mike, but he doesn't answer. You look to the pilot's seat. His body slumps forward, unmoving, pinned by the instrument panel. You don't look long. The cold bites you instantly, far deeper than any chill you've felt before. Your breath comes out in thick plumes. Somewhere in your mind, logic starts stitching things together. You're alive. You're hurt, and you're alone. You crawl out of the wreckage on your stomach, dragging your bad arm behind you. The snow is knee-deep powdery and unkind. You look around endless white-black trees and not a single trail or sign of life. The plane is half buried in the snow. Wings snapped like bones, the tail sheared off. Your first thought is that someone must have seen it. Planes go down. Rescue teams go out. It's standard. Right. But then you remember you're off-grid. No flight plan. No tracker. Mike took a shortcut through uncharted territory to save fuel and time. No one even knows exactly where you are. You feel panic begin to rise. You shove it down. You need to think. The sun is sinking fast. Already, the shadows stretch long across the snow. If you don't act now, the cold will kill you before the night's over. Your jacket's torn. You have no gloves. You're bleeding. So you crawl back into the wreckage. Inside, it's no warmer, but at least there's shelter from the wind. You find a utility knife in the side compartment, a crushed granola bar, and miraculously, a half-full lighter. There's a small emergency radio too, but it's cracked down the middle, useless. You take Mike's heavy coat and force yourself not to think about it. It's survival. With shaking hands, you push wreckage into a pile and strike the lighter. The flame sputters, barely catching, but eventually a tiny fire grows. You huddle close to it, like a newborn animal, praying it lasts. That night, as the sky bleeds into blackness and the temperature drops to freezing, you realize something primal. No one is coming. You are completely, utterly alone. And if you want to live through this, you're going to have to learn how. The fire sputters, your body aches, and the darkness outside presses in like a living thing. You sit curled next to the smoldering wreckage, wrapped in the dead pilot's coat, your back against the bent metal frame of the cockpit. Each breath fogs the air, vanishing into the bitter cold. The heat from your small flame barely keeps your fingers from going numb. You count the seconds aloud just to hear your own voice. 21, 22. The cold isn't just on your skin. It seeps in through your bones, climbs into your lungs. The wind howls outside, dragging snow like knives across the forest floor. You hear it batter the broken wings of the plane as if nature itself is trying to finish what gravity started. You try to close your eyes, sleep. But the pain in your shoulder makes that impossible. So you watch the fire instead. Every flicker feels like hope. Every dying ember feels like doom. The granola bar you found is gone. You didn't even chew, just tore it apart like an animal. The sugar gave you a moment of clarity, a spark of energy. But now it's fading. Hunger gnaws at you again. You shake uncontrollably, your limbs jerking with shivers you can't control. You try to think of home, of warmth, of your sister who told you not to go on this trip, of your old dog whose name you can't remember right now, of the last text message you sent, landing in 2 HRs. Looks beautiful from up here. That was 12 hours ago. You shift to relieve pressure from your bad shoulder. Pain explodes through your side, but you grit your teeth and stay quiet. If you scream, no one will hear you. The thought brings tears, but you blink them away before they can freeze on your face. You need to do something. Anything. Sitting here won't save you. You rip more seat cushions apart, stuffing them inside your jacket. Padding insulation. Whatever it can be. You drag chunks of foam closer to the fire, dry them out, turn them into crude bedding. It smells like melted plastic. You don't care. You check the emergency radio again. It's definitely broken. Cracked case-shattered battery. Still, you press the power button over and over. Nothing. Silence. You wish the silence felt peaceful. But it doesn't. It feels like you're being watched. The wind moans, trees creak. Somewhere far off, you think you hear movement branches crunching under something large. You freeze. Wait. Listen. Nothing. You tell yourself it's your imagination. But you also press the utility knife tighter to your chest. Eventually, the fire grows weaker. You debate whether to feed it the last of your seat cushion stash, but something tells you to wait. You don't know how many nights you'll be here. Don't know how long it'll take for someone, anyone, to notice you're gone. The truth claws at the edge of your mind. No one even knows where you are. That realization doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in like the frost. Soft at first, then deep, then devastating. You pull your knees to your chest and focus on the rhythm of your breathing. Slow, steady. Focus. You've made it through one crash. You can make it through one night, just one night. That's what you tell yourself, until a low, distant howl pierces the cold. You stop breathing. Listen. There it is again, closer this time. A wolf. You've seen enough documentaries to know what that means. Wolves travel in packs. They hunt the weak, the alone, the dying. You are all three. You reach for a metal rod from the wreckage and grip it with your good arm. Your body screams in pain, but adrenaline shoves it aside, and you wait. You wait through the long black night, afraid to blink. Afraid to sleep, afraid that something will find you before the morning does. Morning comes without warmth. The light filters through the forest canopy in cold streaks of blue and gray. You open your eyes to find the fire dead, reduced to ash and frozen charcoal. Your fingers are stiff. Your lips are cracked. Your shoulder throbs with a deep pulsing pain. But you're alive. And for now, that's enough. You force yourself up. Every movement is agony. Your muscles feel like stone, your joints like rusted hinges. You stagger out into the snow, blinking at the blinding glare. The plane sits half submerged in a snowbank, its metal body twisted like a crushed can. The tail is completely sheared off, and one wing is bent at an impossible angle. Debris is scattered in a long line behind it. Bags gear splintered pieces of fuselage. You need supplies. You limp toward the broken tail section, half buried under snow and pine needles. Your boots crunch against the ice. Your breath comes in ragged clouds. You spot a ripped duffel bag caught in a tree root and crawl toward it. Inside, a roll of duct tape, a water bottle empty, a pair of dry socks, a plastic tarp. You nearly laugh. Not because it's funny, because it's something. Duct tape could fix a lot. A tarp could save your life. You press onward, searching every shard of wreckage. You find one boot belonging to Mike. No good. A broken thermos, a crushed first aid kit with nothing usable. You do find a flare gun. It's cracked, but the flare inside seems intact. Hope. You return to the cockpit and check the other compartments. There, under the co-pilot seat, you find a miracle, a small survival pack. It's dusty, likely forgotten. But inside you find a magnesium fire starter, a foil blanket, a fishing line and hook, a tiny mirror, and a vacuum-sealed pouch of emergency food calories, sweet and dense. Your hands tremble as you tear into the food bar. It tastes like cardboard dipped in honey, but you chew every bite like it's gold. For the first time in 24 hours, your stomach doesn't ache. You wrap the foil blanket around your shoulders and stare at the horizon. Endless trees, white drifts, sky like a frozen ocean. There's no path, no road, no sign of rescue. You know logically, the best thing to do is stay put. Survival guides always say, don't wander. Let rescue come to you. But logic feels hollow out here. You feel like a ghost already. You take the small mirror and hang it from a branch angled toward the sky. Maybe, just maybe, the reflection will catch a pilot's eye. Maybe it'll flash like a distress beacon. Maybe. You turn your attention to the shelter. The cockpit's too exposed. The wind sneaks in through every crack, and the seat cushions barely insulated you. You need something better, warmer, stronger. You look toward the tree line. Tall spruce and fir trees loom like ancient guardians. Some of their lower branches are thick and heavy, full of needles. Shelter material. You'll need to saw or break branches, layer them. Maybe you can build something dome-like against the wreckage, reinforce it with snow. Your breath quickens. The idea of moving, doing, keeps the fear at bay. Before you go, you check the pilot one more time. Mike is still slumped over. The cold has preserved his body. You reach into his coat, apologizing under your breath, and retrieve a metal lighter and a half-used packet of chewing gum. It's something. You look at his face. He didn't have a chance. No one would have. You force yourself to look away. You gather what you can, tie the tarp around your chest like a cape, and head toward the trees. The snow is thigh-deep. Every step is labor. You cut a few branches, snap others with your foot, drag them back like logs. It takes you hours, but by sunset, you've built the frame of something that resembles a lean-to. You line the floor with pine boughs, prop the tarp over the top, and use snow to insulate the sides. It's crude. It's ugly. But inside, it's quiet. It's not warm, but it's less cold. You nestle into your new shelter with the emergency blanket wrapped around you and the magnesium fire starter in hand. You strike it once, twice, a spark. Then fire. A real fire? You stare at it like it's the only thing in the world. In a way it is. Tomorrow, you'll figure out water. You'll check the nearby hills for any higher ground, maybe even track movement. But for now, you've survived day 2. Hunger has a voice. And by day 3, it's screaming in your ears. Your body aches in new ways, now not just from the crash or the cold, but from starvation. The energy bar and emergency ration from yesterday are long gone. Your stomach tightens into knots, then growls, then just goes silent. That's the part that scares you most, the silence inside your own body. You need food, real food. You've read about people eating tree bark moss, even leather belts. But you're not ready for that, not yet. Somewhere nearby, there are animals. Rabbits, squirrels, something. You've seen tracks in the snow, heard branches crack late at night. You're not alone out here, and so you begin to hunt. You spend the morning carving makeshift snares from the thin copper wire in the wreckage. You use the fishing line from the survival kit to strengthen them. Your hands tremble in the cold, and your injured shoulder makes tying knots an act of sheer will. But eventually, you fashion 3 working traps, primitive loops meant to tighten when triggered. You place them carefully near clusters of rabbit tracks just beyond the tree line. You scatter pine needles over them. Then you wait and wait. The wind picks up. The trees groan. A flake of snow lands on your nose and melts instantly against your skin. You feel the ache and your belly sharpen like a blade. Mid-afternoon, you check the first snare. Nothing. The second also empty. But the third, there struggling against the wire, is a snowshoe hare. Its eyes are wide. It kicks and twists in panic, caught around the neck and leg. Your breath catches. This is real. This is food. And this is death, yours or its. You hesitate. It's one thing to be hungry. It's another to take a life. But your body doesn't give you a choice. You whisper an apology and do what you have to do. The act is over in seconds, but it echoes in your mind for hours. Back at your shelter, you work to prepare the animal. It's messier than anything you imagined. The blood is shockingly red against the white snow. Your fingers slip, your stomach churns, but you don't stop. You clean it as best you can. You remember watching survival videos, what parts to keep, what not to touch. You build a fresh fire and cook the meat over a flat sheet of metal from the wreckage. The smell is smoky and wild. Your mouth waters. You don't wait for perfection. You eat in pieces, burning your tongue, ignoring the grease on your hands. It's gamey, tough, but it's the best thing you've ever tasted. You eat everything. Leave nothing behind. That night, with a full stomach for the first time since the crash, you lie in your makeshift shelter and stare at the firelight dancing on the tarp ceiling. You're not proud of what you did, but you're alive because of it. And you realize something: survival isn't about glory. It's about doing what you must, especially when it hurts. You jot it down in the corner of your journal, day 3. First kill. Not a moment of strength, a moment of necessity. Then you close your eyes and let the fire crackle you to sleep. Outside, the forest watches. Inside, your hunger is finally quiet. It starts as a whisper, Soft flurries drifting from the sky, delicate and harmless. By mid-morning on day 4, it's a storm. Snow falls in heavy sheets, blinding white, erasing every trace of path trap and wreckage. The air thickens with frost. Visibility shrinks to arm's length. You wrap the pilot's coat tighter around yourself, already stiff with frozen blood, and duck into your makeshift shelter, heart pounding. You've read about Alaskan blizzards. Now you're living one. The wind roars through the trees like a freight train. Snow blasts against the tarp, testing every corner, every tie. You brace it with branches, pile more snow around the base for insulation, and wait. Still, it groans under pressure, straining with each gust. Inside, it's dark. The fire burns low carefully, managed with twigs and resin-soaked bark. You ration everything wood, oxygen, warmth. The space is barely big enough to sit upright, let alone stretch out. But it's the only barrier between you and nature's fury. You huddle against the wall of snow and think of home. You imagine your sister's voice calling search and rescue. Imagine headlines, crash survivor found after days in wilderness. But that voice in your mind, the cold one, the realist, says they don't know where you are. They won't find you in this storm. You breathe slowly, counting seconds to calm your nerves. It doesn't work. Late afternoon, the tarp begins to sag from the weight of fresh snow. You crawl out, briefly tightening the lines and sweeping snow from the top. Ice clings to your eyelashes. Your fingers turn wooden. You force them to move, to bend, to tie knots again. Inside, you fight back panic. You know what happens to people who panic in the cold. They freeze even while burning with fear. You curl around your dwindling fire and try to conserve energy. Every hour feels like 2. The wind never stops. The snow never slows. The world outside vanishes, replaced by howling and white. By nightfall, your shelter begins to shift. One branch cracks with a sound like a gunshot. You brace the frame with your back pushing up against the tarp to keep it from collapsing entirely. And then silence. Not peace, just a sudden, terrifying stillness. The storm pauses, like it's catching its breath. You take the chance to breathe too. Your chest hurts from the cold. Your shoulder is inflamed, the skin angry and red. But you survived the worst of it, for now. You light another small fire, using scrap bark and dried moss from your boots. The flames are weak, but enough to feel real. You boil snow in a dented aluminum cup to make water, sipping it slow, careful not to spill. That's when the weight hits you. Not the snow, but the realization. This is your life now, not for a day, not for a week. Until someone finds you or you find a way out. You stare at the flickering flame and accept it. You're no longer Jack Morgan engineer. You're Jack Morgan survivor, alone, cold, hungry, but alive. You write it down in your journal with numb fingers. Day 4. Blizzard. Shelter held. Barely. I'm still here. Outside, the wind picks up again. But inside, there's firelight and resolve. By day 5, you realize the journal isn't just a distraction. It's your anchor. You didn't mean to write at first. You found the small leather-bound book, zipped inside your backpack, during the first night, meant for jotting down flight notes, supply lists, boring logistical things. You scribbled a few sentences out of habit. Now it's your companion, your sanity. You open to a blank page and press the pen down hard, trying to get the ink flowing again. The cold clogs everything: machines, limbs, thoughts. But you breathe warm air onto the page and scratch out a title. Journal entry day 5. You write about the blizzard, the kill, the blood on your hands. You write about Mike the pilot and how you didn't really know him. Just his voice over comms, his stupid joke about airplane food before takeoff. You write about the cold, how it feels like a living thing crawling inside your bones. You don't write about the fear. That one lives between the lines. You sketch a crude map of the crash site, the surrounding trees, the snares you place, the frozen creek you spotted on day 2. It's not accurate, but it's something. A mental layout of your world, which has now shrunk to just a few hundred meters of snow-covered forest. Then you write what matters most: I want to live. 3 words. Sharp. True. You whisper them out loud just to make them real. You close the journal and place it carefully in the driest corner of your shelter, wrapped in your spare sock for insulation. If you die here, someone might find it. They'll know who you were, what you tried to do. But you're not thinking about dying today. You're thinking about surviving tomorrow. So you take inventory again. 1. Magnesium fire starter. 1. Cracked lighter. 2. Working snares. 1. Empty flare gun. 1 tarp shelter. 1 broken shoulder. 1 cold heart that refuses to quit. You crawl out to check your traps, bracing for disappointment. But in the second one, another rabbit. You kill it quickly this time. Still not easy, but there's less hesitation, less grief. The survival part of your brain is louder now, sharper. Back at the shelter, you skin the rabbit with your utility knife cleaner than the first time. You even keep the bones, this time thinking maybe you can use them: tools, fishhooks, something. Resourcefulness becomes instinct. You roast the meat over a careful fire and chew slowly, trying to stretch the moment. It tastes less wild now, more like fuel. That night, you make a discovery. When you write before sleep, the dreams don't come as violently. You write about your sister again, Emily. You imagine her yelling at someone in a rescue office, waving your picture, demanding answers. You picture her stubborn face, her voice saying, "He's too damn smart to die out there. Go find him." You write those exact words in the journal. Then you draw a little flare gun beside them. Then you sleep. It's the best rest you've had since the crash. The journal can't feed you, can't keep you warm. But it's keeping something else alive. Your will, your story, your mind. And in this place, where the trees don't speak and the sky doesn't care, that's no small thing. The first time you hear it, you're not sure it's real. A sound, low guttural, stretched across the snow-covered silence like a threat whispered through the trees. You sit up in your shelter, your breath caught in your throat. The fire has burned low, casting only the faintest light across the tarp and packed snow walls. You grip your utility knife without thinking. There it is again, a growl. Not the wind, not your imagination. Something is out there. You press your ear against the side of the shelter. The night outside is deathly still, but then crack. A stick snapping, not far off. Something moving with weight. You know wolves roam these woods. You saw tracks near your snares. At first, the thought didn't bother you. Wolves are shy, avoid humans, or so you told yourself. But now, you're not so sure. You kill the fire completely. No smoke, no scent. You push your food scraps into the snowpack outside the shelter. Bury them deep. You take the longest metal shard from the wreckage and lay it next to you like a blade. Your journal stays clenched to your chest, a strange kind of shield. You sit in silence, every muscle tense. Then you hear the howl. This time, it's not distant. It's close. And it's answered from the other side, a pack. You think about stories, campfire tales, survival blogs, warnings from park rangers, wolves circling shelters, testing prey. Their instincts sharper than your fire starter, colder than the wind. You don't move, don't blink, don't breathe. You listen to the shuffling outside, soft paws in the snow, claws scraping bark. It goes on for hours. They don't try to come inside, not tonight. But you know they know you're here. And now you know they are too. Morning brings no comfort. You step out carefully, metal rod in hand. The forest looks unchanged, peaceful even. But the snow says otherwise. Tracks, dozens, some small, some massive. Circular paw prints fresh, all around your shelter. One print is just feet from your tarp's opening. They were watching you sleep. You check your snares. One is gone, yanked clean off the tree it was tied to. Bits of rabbit fur and a blood trail tell you all you need to know. They stole your kill. You don't blame them. You would have done the same. But the message is clear now. You are not alone. And you are not the only predator here. You tighten your perimeter, restack snow around the shelter, sharpen sticks, build noise traps with cans and wire from the wreckage. Crude, but maybe enough to buy you a few seconds of warning. At night you light no fire. The cold hurts, but not as much as being watched does. You lie awake, knife by your side, listening to the forest breathe. And somewhere between midnight and dawn, you feel it again. Eyes on you. You don't move. You whisper into the dark, I'm still here. And in that moment, it's not just a defiance of the animals circling your shelter. It's a declaration to the wilderness, the cold and the fear inside your own chest. Fire is life. And right now, yours is dying. Day 8 begins with numb fingers and a bitter taste in your mouth. You've gone 2 full nights without lighting a fire, afraid the smoke or smell will attract the wolves. But the cost is catching up fast. You can barely feel your toes. Your left foot is blackened around the edges, early frostbite. You need warmth. You need fire. But you're out of dry wood, out of pine bark, out of anything that'll catch. You spend hours scavenging. Most of the forest floor is buried under feet of snow, wet and frozen through. The trees groan under their icy loads. You chip away bark from the underside of fallen logs, hoping to find something dry beneath the rot. You return to your shelter with numb cheeks and a bundle of damp sticks. You try to start a flame with the magnesium fire starter, again and again. Nothing. You scrape the striker until your fingers bleed. You curse. You whisper. You pray. Still nothing. So you try again. And again. It takes hours. The sun begins to set. Your shoulders sag with exhaustion. Then you remember something. Tree sap. You saw it days ago on a pine trunk, thick amber globs leaking from a break in the bark. It's flammable. You read that somewhere. You crawl back out, knees dragging through snow, and return to that same tree. You scrape the sap into a can lid using the edge of your knife. Back in the shelter, you place the frozen sticks over the sticky sap and strike the magnesium. Spark, flicker, flame. It catches, tiny, weak, but real. You feed it bark, slivers, soft pine needles, broken pieces of seat cushion stuffing. You blow gently, hands cupped like it's a secret you're protecting. And the fire grows. You cry, not from relief, but from the pure, emotional release of something finally working. You haven't had a win in days. The cold has chipped away at you like a glacier, slow and merciless. But now, this tiny blaze pushes it back. You boil snow for water. You dry your socks. You press your raw hands over the flames, closing your eyes just to feel again. That night, you let the fire burn longer than usual. Not recklessly, just enough to remind yourself you're still human. You open the journal. Day 8. Fire almost failed. But I remembered. Tree sap. Just a few grams. Life in the shape of flame. I can do this. But something else is happening too. The cold isn't the only thing wearing you down. It's the waiting. The not knowing. Will someone come? Did anyone even notice the crash? Are they still searching, or have they already stopped? The isolation wraps around you, like the snow, heavy and constant. You begin to doubt. What if this is forever? But then you look at the fire, again, steady, flickering alive. You built that. You remembered something useful. You adapted. You survived, not just by chance, by action. That spark in the can lid is more than fire. It's proof that you're not helpless. And as the wolves howl in the distance and the wind scrapes its cold claws across the tarp, you whisper 3 words to the fire that saved you. I'm not done. The cold doesn't just freeze your skin. It freezes time. By day 9, your body has adjusted to the rhythms of survival. Wake, scavenge, check, snares, boil water, right sleep, but your mind drifts somewhere else. The isolation grows louder. It creeps into the silence like fog. That's when the memories begin to thaw. It starts with a song, just a faint tune that hums in your head while you boil snow over the fire. You don't know where it came from at first. Then it hits you. It's your mother's humming. The song she used to play in the car when you were little. The one she'd sing when she brushed your hair after long road trips. You whisper the tune. Just once. And then the weight of the memory crashes in. You remember her hands. How warm they were. How she used to rub your knuckles when you were sick. How she cried the day you left for college, hiding her tears behind a camera flash. It's been years since you've thought of her like that. She passed in winter, just like this one. You find yourself writing her name in the journal. Mom, you would have hated this cold, but you'd tell me to stay brave. You always did. The next memory comes uninvited. You see yourself in a coffee shop. A Tuesday, maybe. 2 years ago. Rain outside. Emily, your sister laughing over a stupid joke you can't remember. Her red scarf, her chipped nail polish. She was always so loud, so alive. You had a fight that day. Something small. Something about responsibility, about your tendency to isolate. You didn't speak for weeks after that. Now her silence haunts you. You pick up the pen again. Emily, I'm sorry I didn't call back. I'm sorry I didn't take the photo of us when you asked. If I get out of here, I'll never let a moment like that go again. You stop writing because another face pushes into your mind, unexpected, unwelcome. Her, Maya. You swore you were over her, that you'd moved on, but the wilderness has a way of peeling you down to your bones. And somewhere in the marrow, she's still there. The last time you saw her, You were walking opposite directions on a city street. She didn't stop, didn't look back. She'd said you were too closed off, that you didn't feel enough. You wonder what she'd think if she saw you now. Bloodied hands, frostbitten fingers, sleeping beside a fire you made from sap and steel. You whisper her name. These memories, they hurt. But they also warm you in strange ways. They remind you you're not just a survivor. You're a person with stories, with roots, with things you left undone. You stare into the fire and let the tears come, just for a minute. Then you wipe your face and close the journal. Outside, the snow falls gently. No storm tonight, only silence and stars. You step out of the shelter just to look at them. And for the first time in days, the sky is clear, sharp, endless, beautiful. No planes, no rescue. Just you, your memories, and the stars that watched you crash. You press your hand to your chest, still beating, still here. The river calls to you like a silver thread sewn through the snow. On day 10, you decide to follow it. You discovered the frozen river back on day 2, but with the storm and the cold, you didn't dare stray too far from the shelter. Now, the sky is clear, the wind is calm, and your legs, though weak, are eager to move. You pack what you can, knife flare gun journal tarp, and set off with the river snaking quietly alongside you. You don't know what you're hoping to find. Maybe a sign of civilization, a trail, a structure, a footprint. Maybe just a reason to keep going. The snow crunches beneath your feet in rhythmic steps. The ice glistens under patches of sunlight that bleed through the treetops. It almost feels peaceful, almost. But you know better. You walk for hours, marking trees with your knife so you can find your way back. The river twists and dips, sometimes disappearing beneath hills of snow, then emerging again like a vein of glass. You follow it cautious, not to step too close. Then it happens. Your right foot hits a patch of snow that doesn't crunch, it gives. The ice beneath you cracks like thunder. You lunge backward, but too late. The surface shatters. You plunge into black water. Cold, like you've never known, floods your body, like knives stabbing every inch of skin. You thrash screaming lungs burning. Your backpack drags you down the weight, pulling you into the current beneath the ice. You see the opening above, too far, too small, already sealing. Panic erupts. No thought, just instinct. You claw at the edge, kicking wildly. Your fingers scrape at jagged ice. They bleed. You swing your arm upward, catch the ledge with your knife hand, and dig in. Somehow you haul yourself up, rolling onto the snowbank with a gasping sob. You lie there, soaked, shivering, staring at the gray sky. You almost died. You should be dead. You strip immediately, jacket, shirt, everything. You force yourself to move. Movement equals heat. You tear the tarp from your pack and wrap it around your body. You run back through the forest barefoot in the snow, blood mixing with frost. You don't remember most of the trip back. You just remember fire. You remember lighting it with trembling hands, jamming wood into the flames like a madman. You remember the smell of burning plastic from your pack, the hiss of wet clothes drying by the side. You remember screaming not from pain, but from sheer, overwhelming rage at the cold, at the river, at yourself. You almost didn't come back, You curl beside the fire, wrapped in everything you own. Your body shakes uncontrollably, muscles locked in protest. You hold the journal, but don't write. Not yet. Later, when your hands stop trembling, you open it. Day 10. Ice broke. I fell in. Almost died. Got out. No logic, just panic and luck. Never. Trust. The ice. The words blur as tears fall again. You let them. You've earned them. It takes hours before your clothes are dry, before your heart stops racing. The fire burns long and hard into the night. Outside, the wolves stay quiet. Even they know the cold tried to kill you today, but it didn't. Not this time. And with skin raw and soul scraped bare, you realize something vital. This place doesn't want you dead. It just doesn't care if you are. The silence is different now. Not peaceful, not restful. It's empty. After the river incident, something changes in you. Your legs are weaker. Your skin is pink and raw, where the frostbite began to take hold. You move slower, eat less. And worst of all, you stop hearing things. No birds, no animals, no wind. The forest is holding its breath. On day 11, you check the traps and find them untouched. On day 12, you reset them in new spots. Still nothing. Day 13, you don't even bother. The snow has swallowed the forest whole. The rabbit tracks that once led you to food are gone. The wolves have vanished too. The entire wilderness feels abandoned, and for the first time, you feel it in your bones. This place might outlast you. You spend your days doing small, desperate things. You sharpen sticks that don't need sharpening. Rearrange the same 3 logs in your fire pit. Scribble nonsense in your journal, just to hear the scratch of pen on paper. You talk to the fire like it's a friend. Sometimes you talk to your shelter. Once you say your own name just to remember how it sounds. Your voice startles you. The silence grows heavier each night. It settles on your chest like weight you can't lift. You start hearing things, footsteps that aren't there, whispers in the trees, the echo of your sister's voice calling your name through the snow. You answer once, out loud, and when nothing replies, you almost break. You write in the journal that night with a clarity that frightens you. Day 13. No sound, no wind, no game. This place is forgetting I exist. You pause, then add, maybe that's fair. I forgot myself long before this. The truth hits hard. Before the crash, you were already drifting, living for deadlines, checking boxes, ignoring calls. You'd built your life like a well-oiled machine and never noticed the engine was dying. Out here, stripped of every distraction, there's no hiding from the version of you that's left. And yet, you're still alive. You still feel hunger, still crave warmth, still want more than this cold silence. So you listen harder. On day 14, while boiling snow for water, you catch the faintest shift in the air. A breeze barely there. But it's real. Later, a branch creaks somewhere in the forest. Then at dusk, a single bird call echoes from above a raven black against the pink sky, circling once before disappearing beyond the trees. You smile. It's not much, but it's something. And in this vast frozen world where your own breath sounds like thunder, something is everything. That night, you light a fire and speak into the dark. I'm still here. No one answers. But the silence listens. It starts with a hum. Not in your head, not this time. You hear it on day 15 just after noon. A low mechanical buzz rolling across the treetops. You sit up too fast, banging your head on the shelter's wooden frame, hardly caring. You scramble into the open, shielding your eyes against the sun. There, a plane, a real one, high above the trees, dark and distant against the blue sky. Moving slow, not a jet. A search aircraft. A bush pilot. You sprint to the crash site, lungs burning, limbs barely working. The snow swallows your legs, but you keep going. You grab the flare gun, half-cracked, long-saved, and fire. Boom! A bright red burst punches into the sky. You wave your arms. You scream, "Hey, over here." The plane continues, steady, level, unchanged. You scream louder, leap, whistle. The plane grows smaller. Its drone fades into nothing. And then silence. They didn't see you. You collapse into the snow. Your breath comes in gasps. Not from exhaustion, but heartbreak. You lie there for minutes, maybe hours. The cold presses in, but you don't feel it, not fully. What you feel is the crushing weight of hope lost too soon. That was it, your chance. And it passed by like a shadow on water. Eventually, you crawl back to the shelter. You don't write in the journal that night. You stare at the blank page for hours. The fire crackles nearby. And still, you say nothing. When you finally move, it's not to eat, not to fix traps, not to collect wood. It's to lie down. On the pine boughs. Under the tarp. Staring at the trembling light on the ceiling. And think, what if that was the last one? What if no one comes? But even as the thought settles, your body resists. Your hands twitch. Your stomach growls. Your heart pounds in your chest like a fist refusing to give up. You get up. You light another fire. You eat the last of your smoked meat. Slowly, deliberately. Then you pick up the journal. You write without punctuation. They didn't see me. They didn't see me. They didn't see me. But I saw them. And that means they're looking. And that means they're out there. And that means I have to stay alive. You drop the pen, stare at the words, and in the quiet that follows you, whisper something that surprises even you. I forgive them because they didn't fail you. They just didn't find you. Yet. You close the journal and feed more wood to the fire. The red streak still hangs in your memory like blood in the sky. But even failed signals leave marks, and tomorrow you'll try again. You don't remember the exact moment it happened. Maybe it was when you slipped on the ice, dragging back a broken trap. Maybe when you twisted too hard lifting wood for the fire. All you know is your leg hurts, and it's getting worse. At first, it's just a dull throb in your right calf. By morning, it's a sharp, hot pulse. By nightfall, it's fire under your skin. You unwrap the bandage you've been using, just a strip of tarp from the plane, and find the wound a long, shallow cut, likely from that jagged metal panel you fell into last week. You hadn't thought much of it. Now it's angry red and leaking yellow pus. Infection. The word echoes in your mind like a verdict. You sit back, sweat already beading along your brow despite the cold. Fever's coming. You know it. You feel it in the weight of your limbs, the dry heat behind your eyes. You take inventory again. No antibiotics, no antiseptic, no clean bandages, one dirty knife, one piece of chewing gum from Mike's coat, and desperation. You rip your shirt into strips, boil snow to make sterile water. Heat your knife over the fire until it glows red, then let it cool just enough. You grit your teeth and dig into the wound. The pain is like lightning. It shoots through your spine, slams into your skull. You scream. Actually, scream loud and ragged, the sound torn from someplace primal. But you keep going. You have to. You squeeze the wound. Pus and blood run like poison from a well. You clean it again. Wrap it tight with boiled cloth. Then collapse shivering and soaked in sweat. That night, the fever comes. You dream of fire, of planes crashing into endless snow, of voices whispering in the wind, your mother singing, Maya laughing, Emily crying out your name. You wake soaked, your blanket frozen to your skin. You throw it off and crawl to the fire. Your leg pulses in sync with your heartbeat, but you're still alive. Barely. You sip boiled water and whisper nonsense to the flames. You don't remember all of it. Some of your journal entries blur together from this point on, fragments, desperate lines written in half-conscious scrawl. Leg worse? Might lose it. Don't stop. Please don't stop. I dreamed of my bed, my real bed. Sky turned orange today. That's good, right? Did I already write this? You lose a full day to fever. When you wake again, it's colder. Your body aches, but your mind is clearer. You check the wound, still red, but not spreading. No new swelling, no new pus. Maybe you beat it, or maybe the infection is just waiting to strike harder. Either way, you fought it, and that's something. You eat a few pine nuts you cracked open near the edge of camp. Drink melted snow. Breathe. You hold the journal and write one more thing before the sun sets. Day 17. I didn't die today. That's a win. And for now, that's enough. You light the fire like it's a ritual. Carefully, slowly, with reverence. You gather everything that will burn dry, bark shredded tarp, even parts of the flight manual you'd saved for kindling. It's not just for warmth today. It's not even for food. Today, the fire is for one thing, to be seen. It's day 18. Your leg is healing slowly. You're weaker, thinner, your face sunken in the mirror shard you sometimes glance at. The journal is filled with uneven lines, shaky scrawl, and sentences that ramble. But your mind is clear today, sharp with purpose. You're going to make a signal fire big enough to be seen from the sky. You drag metal from the wreckage, pieces of paneling wire, anything that might reflect sunlight or create smoke. You break apart branches high in resin, stack them in a careful cone above the fire pit, and wedge green pine needles deep into the base. The smoke will be dark, visible. You wait for the sky to clear, and when the sun finally burns through the clouds, you strike the magnesium one last time. The flame catches, climbs, spreads. You back away as the fire roars to life, crackling like applause. Smoke billows upward, thick gray-black columns twisting into the pale blue sky like a cry for help. You watch it rise, higher, wider, louder than words. You run to the edge of the clearing and wave your arms just in case. You shout, you whistle. You spin a strip of tarp in circles above your head. Anything to make yourself larger, louder, more human. Then you wait. For hours you stare upward. At every glint of light you wonder, plain drone bird. At every breeze that bends the smoke, you panic it might scatter too soon. But the column holds. It becomes a pillar against the sky. A message written in fire and desperation. I'm here. I'm alive. Look at me. And just when your hope starts to fade, you hear it. A distant sound. Not wind, not wolves. Rotors. Your heart stops. You spin, shielding your eyes. The sound grows louder, real, undeniable. Then a shape, small at first, then unmistakable. A helicopter, low, searching. It sweeps in from the west, tracing the forest like it's reading a map. You wave your arms, shout, stumble toward the fire, tossing more green needles into the flames to darken the smoke. The chopper draws closer, slower, tilting. It sees you. You fall to your knees. You don't cry. You just breathe. Deep, ragged, grateful breaths. Because the fire worked. Because you worked. The wind from the blades kicks up snow and ash. The helicopter hovers. A figure leans out, orange jacket headset waving. You raise both hands. You don't say anything. You don't have to. They lower the rescue basket with slow, practiced hands like they've done this 100 times. But this time, it's for you. The rotor wash kicks snow into your face, stinging your eyes, but you don't look away. You can't. The noise is overwhelming the wind, a storm of its own, but all you feel is warmth spreading through you, like the fire that started it all. You clutch your journal to your chest with one hand. With the other, you signal. The medic on the winch shouts something, points at your leg. You nod. Everything is a blur of motion and light and disbelief. You step into the harness, and as they hoist you from the ground, the forest falls away. The shelter, the wreckage, the blood, the fire pit, all shrinking beneath your boots, swallowed by white. You rise, and for the first time in 18 days, you are above the trees, not as prey, not as a shadow of yourself, but as a survivor. Inside the helicopter, they wrap you in thermal blankets, push a water bottle into your hands. You can't stop shaking, not from the cold, but from everything leaving your body at once. Fear, adrenaline, the weight of silence. Someone is talking into a radio. Another voice is asking your name. You answer barely. Jack Morgan. The words sound strange, like they belong to someone else, but they're yours. You look out the window as the trees rush past below. There are no trails, no roads, just wilderness. You wonder how close people came, how many rescue teams passed by without ever seeing your smoke, how many more days you might have lasted or wouldn't have. You reach into your coat and pull out the journal, damp, battered edges charred from nights too close to the flame. You flip to the last page. Day 18. Smoke. Fire. Helicopter. I'm going home. You close the book. Hold it close. A history. A lifeline. Proof that you were here and that you made it. Back at the outpost, the lights are too bright. The voices too many. Hands pull at you gently, checking vitals, wrapping your leg, pressing warm food into your palms. You eat in silence, overwhelmed. Later, someone hands you a phone. Emily's voice. You break. You cry so hard you can't speak. Only nod. Only whisper. I'm here. And she says, I know. Weeks later, when the press calls you, say little. They ask what kept you going, how you didn't give up. You think of the fire, the journal, the silence, the wolves, the pain, the cold. The day you screamed into the void and no one answered. But you stayed anyway. You give them the only answer that makes sense. I wanted to live.